Hello viewers, here is an Aloha Breeze oscillating desk fan, and this is model 04249. Well, that shouldn't be turning like that. Well, anyways, this needs a number of repairs. The bearings are locked up, and the guard is rotating when it shouldn't be, and it is really locked. That's one of the worst cases I've ever seen on a fan like this. And this has a date code of 11/2006, so probably was purchased in 2007. So it's only about 12 years old, and it certainly doesn't look like it has all that many hours on it either. Although maybe it looks like it was cleaned at some point. I don't know. Anyways, it looks very well made. You know, everything is very big and chunky. This is pretty big. The blade pitch is substantial, and this is, you know, decent, really decent actually. So I'm kind of disappointed that it's so locked up. Let's see what we have here. I have suspicion something is broken here on the guard mount. Yeah, there's probably was two little posts there that go in through here that would keep it from spinning. That's why it's spinning. Really nothing I can do about that. Let's see, we got two screws here. Gonna use these screwdrivers that are made in USA to fix this Chinese garbage. Looks like there may have actually been a third post down there, and that broke off too. Oh well. Okay, that came off pretty easily. And we got a screw inside the oscillation thing, switch. And this should just pull right off, I would think. Yep. And let's see, it looks like a 14mm. Oh, that was close. It's probably not metric. It's 9/16. And what's holding this on? I think it's actually attached to the back of the motor somehow. Yeah, it is. See that there? It's still attached to the motor. That's a stinking joke. Well, this is never going to work if I can't get this apart. So, I'm a little bit bewildered at this here. Thought this was going to be easy. Should have known. I Nothing is ever easy when it comes to these crazy Chinese manufacturers, always doing crazy stuff to make stuff more disposable. Alright, well, I'll have to figure this out. Okay, I figured it out. It really wasn't all that difficult. There's a foam piece here that's covering the screw, which I guess makes it look nice, but it's not really necessary. I tend to think that was more for stopping people from getting in there than it was to make it look nice. Of course, it's not going to stop me, but it'll stop some people. Alright. Now we're inside the thing. And let's see what we have here. Take all these parts and get this out of the way. We can wash those later. If I can get the motor going, we'll wash those. If I can't get the motor going, there's no point in washing that stuff. So, I don't know what the make of this motor is. The oscillation gearbox appears to be cracked. I don't think it's cracked enough to impede functionality, but it is definitely damaged. And although I did just kind of ram it a little bit, I don't think that's when it broke. I'm going to begin by removing the oscillation mechanism. Okay, we have some ash type looking material there. That's not a good sign. Oh, what that is. Well, let's keep going. So at this point, I think we can split the motor as it is. Yeah, because getting it off of this stand is going to be an interesting task. So I'm going to break these screws loose and remove all of them, and then we'll have to deal with the bearings. It's going to be very difficult to get them out because they're so tight. So what I'll probably end up doing is banging them out, or banging the shaft out of the bearings rather. That screw is hardly loose at all. I mean, hardly tight at all. And this one is so tight I can't get the bolt to free up. Inconsistent assembly. There's oil all over this thing. I guess it all leaked out of the bearings because there doesn't seem to be any in the bearings, unless there's something else wrong with it. Okay, so at this point there's one more thing we got to do before we start to remove the shaft, and that is to get this blade notch thing out of the shaft. So the easiest way to do this is to take I'm going to use a large wrench to support this, and then you can just kind of tap it out with a hammer. This one is also an American-made hammer. Here we go, that came out easier than usual. This wrench is also made in USA as well. And it still works. Okay. So, let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to dismount the capacitor for now. Actually, no, I guess we don't have to. It doesn't really matter. So this end is willing to come off very easily. Actually, no, it's not this end that's coming off. It's pulling through. And now it's locked up. Okay, I want to clean the shaft before we go any further, because there's a lot of dried oil on there. So I'm going to take some... Whoops. I'm going to unzoom that. Tag on it. I'm going to take some detergent oil. I'm going to put it on the shaft, and then I'm going to wipe it off, clean off the shaft here, wipe all the dirt off of it. And this should let it pull through a little bit easier. Now I see there's a defect in the shaft right there. Or no, that's not a defect, that was just some junk. Okay. I see that was going to be interesting to get it off. Alright, let's try again. Okay, that's coming through much easier now. It's getting a little bit stiff, but it's going to go. Alright, so the rear bearing is the source of the problem. And I don't really like the looks of this motor. It's a little crusty, but I think that may just be the stuff from the rear bearing blowing all over the place. And this is locked solid on here. So what's happened here, it looks like, yeah, it looks like that rear bearing got super hot at some point, and then it probably just nearly welded itself together. And I'm not exactly sure what all that black stuff is. It could be the plastic thrust washer. I don't know. But I'm going to do the same thing with the oil here and try to clean this shaft off a little bit. And then I'm going to try to tap this out of here. Okay. So, yeah, you can see the wear on the front versus the back. You can see it took out a good bit of the surface from running like that. Probably just didn't have enough lubricant in there. Well, anyways, this should be fairly simple to fix. I'd like to try to brush out some of that junk from the motor. Oh dear, that's not what I wanted to happen. Although I guess it doesn't really matter. A little bit of dust on there, we'll get that off. It's not too bad though. Alright. So now I want to detach the capacitor because it's going to be an inconvenience to have it like that. Okay, so now the motor can sit on the table. And I got to get a new ticker towel here. I'm going to start with the rear bearing. That one is definitely the worst. And I'm going to put this ticker towel in there. There's a thrust washer on there. Slip that back onto there. That's where it belongs. And see if we can get any gummed up junk to come out of here. May have to go in here with the detergent oil, and I think we're just going to do that right away because it's really bad. Alright, that should do it for that bearing. Turn this around, and then we'll do that on the front bearing as well. That was another thrust washer. Get that off there. Yeah, that was actually fairly dirty as well. Alright, that's the bearings cleaned up. And now let's work on the shaft. And this may not visibly come clean because I think the surface got damaged, but it should still work okay. This plastic is really starting to decay here. I imagine that's because of how hot it got at some point. Okay. Go ahead and put this back in now. Gonna get the good old fan oil out for fans. It's right there on the can and people still don't get it. And it's not sliding in very easily. So I'm going to clean this a little bit more towards the end here. I don't want to get any of that junk back into the bearing. I want this to slide in pretty effortlessly. Just like that. And before it gets all the way in, I'm going to put oil on the shaft. Okay, it's spinning nicely. Well, that was never the problem, so the real test is going to be this bearing. Yeah, this rear bearing definitely has some more wear than the front one. A little bit of play there. I'm not that surprised given what the surface of it looks like. Yeah, this has definitely got a little bit too much wear on it. But hopefully it'll be okay still. I think it should still run just fine. And now I'm just discovering I forgot to put the stator back in, so we'll do that. And I believe it went like this. And hope it went like that, otherwise it's going to go the wrong direction. Okay. Now we can, if this is going to cooperate, there we go. Now we can reassemble the motor, put the screws back in. It's not quite where it should be. I'm just going to put 2 opposing screws in, all of which have oil in them for some reason. And then we'll give it a test run to make sure that it works. Well, that's just being annoying. Okay. Now it's locked again, but it probably just needs to be aligned. There we go. Okay, I'm going to plug it up now. Make sure it runs. It runs. Okay. Going to resecure this now. And I'll open that up and see if it needs any lubrication. Yeah, the oil or the grease in there is kind of dry. So I think what I'm going to do... Well, actually, I don't even know... Is this going to work? Yeah, I guess it'll work even though it's cracked like that. It doesn't seem to affect it too much. Maybe I'll put some glue on there to try to prevent that from getting any more damaged. jacked up here. Yeah, it is oscillating. Put a couple drops of oil in here. Alright, I'm going to get out the glue and just put a little bit of glue on there. During the break, I glued this back together so it's got some more stability. I don't think that affects the functionality at all. It didn't break in a critical part. I also disassembled and cleaned the stand. So now we've got to put that back together. So this piece fell out of here. I think it goes like this. And then this should go on like this. I think. Yeah. Does that make the most sense? Yeah, it has to go on like that. Okay. So this is... I'm going to put this here and see what happens. Put that on. Put the bolt through. And I think what happens is this. Yeah, so this piece threads in and then it contacts that thing inside of there to hold it. You can see it in there now. So that's easy enough. Now when I was putting this back together, the oscillation thing, I noticed it has this. And this top piece here is identical to another Medea manufactured fan that I serviced recently. Now even though there's no indicator on the fan itself that it's made by Medea, I tend to think this may be made by Medea. Forged in USA, not China. Alright, at this point let's do a test to make sure everything is working. Does seem to be running on all speeds. One of the things I typically do with these fans, because I can't fit my fingers in the handle, is I just bend the handle back a little bit. Make it more useful this way you can actually fit your hand through there and carry it. Now, because these little studs are broken, this is never going to be as secure as it should be. So what I'm going to do is just kind of guess where it should be. It should be right about there. And then I'm just going to screw it on tight, tighter than normal, so that it's not flopping around. Of course, you can't go too tight because these are just plastic threads. We'll do that, and that's good enough. Oh, that's not good. That's full of water. Can't believe how much water was just in that stinking thing. Outrageous. Well, I guessed wrong. The two screws for the oscillation thing and for this look like they were the same size. I guess the heads must have been different because it's not fitting into the hole there. So no problem, we'll just have to come in here and take this out and change them. I have not realigned the motor since I put the other two screws in, so do that a little bit. I think it's that far out of alignment. The spin down time may just not be the greatest because the actually it's not too bad, but because the way the rear of the shaft is, you know, it's worn out. So okay. And now put this on. And we're ready for a test. Alright, here we go. Low. Well, it shakes, but actually I have to say that's not bad. Not bad at all. Oops, that went right to high. That's medium. Huh. You know what? That's actually pretty good. It's not a, a translucent blade galaxy or something, but for something from 2006, I'm impressed. This is whipping out the air pretty good. Well, that's surprising. I was not expecting that. Unplug this for a moment here. Look at the blade pitch. It's actually pretty decent. Let's spin it down so you can see it better on the camera. It's a decent blade set, it really is. It's a pleasant surprise. Wish it didn't shake so much, but can't get everything right. It's not that loud either. It's got a decent tilt range too. Goes back pretty far. The spin down time isn't the greatest, but I'm not surprised given the condition of the bearing in the back. Well, anyways, that's another successful clean and service and repair. And the performance of the fan itself is a pleasant surprise.